All right, Stockmeister fans, we're going back to 1967 for Roman Polanski's Fearless Vampire Killers. Let's check it out. This is Professor Abranches. He and his partner Alfred, Roman Polanski, are off vampire hunting. They arrive cold and icy.
I must have bathed for his feet, his nose as well. His nose as well. By any chance, a castle?
They inquire about a castle.
On the word of Yoni, there's no more a castle here than a windmill.
They stop at an inn, and there's the innkeeper's daughter, played by Sharon Tate. That's Sarah.
Not disturbing you, am I?
Not at all, not at all.
I just don't know what to do with myself.
This is Ferdy Main. He plays he's going to be the vampire, Count von Krolock. He's on his way to visit Sarah in her bathtub, or her bath barrel. When they come to check on her, she's gone. The next day, the innkeeper, Sarah's father, is found frozen stiff.
Wretches, open your eyes. You know perfectly well who has been at work.
Slapstick. That frozen innkeeper has been turned.
You got the wrong one.
Anyway, Professor Abranches and Alfred, they set off to go to Krolock's castle. They arrive and they're going to try to meet Krolock, which they do.
So this is how one worms one's way into my castle.
Well, to be precise, sir.
Count on Krolock.
He invites them to spend the night.
To flying on sleepy.
This is Herbert, the very effeminate son of the Count. He likes men. Alfred hears some singing in the night. Remember, he's looking for Sarah. It's time for Count's bedtime, and this time, morning time. There are other vamps. In fact, they don't even want the caretaker deemed to be close to the Count, so they slide him right on out.
Please. For her. No. They are still working on it. If she were dead, she would already be in it like one of them, screened from the light. She's not.
So the next day, as the Count sleeps, they try to find the crypt, which they do. Alfred climbs through the window, and Branches is stuck. So Alfred is tasked to do the dirty work all on his own, which he's a little leery of doing.
Open your eyes. Who is it? Are you going to hit
And he
it
just
off?
doesn't have it in him to do it. He's too afraid. Alfred leaves to go get Branches out of the window, but he's distracted by Sarah in the bathtub. I totally understand. He looks out a window to see the professor's still stuck, and he realizes, oops, I forgot. He turned around for a second to let Sarah get, and she's gone. He released the professor and then went back to look for Sarah again, and now he's about to get accosted by the amorous Herbert,
Are you ill?
who tries to take a bite out of him. And the chase is on. They eventually meet the Count outside, and he looks down and shows them there's a lot of us.
See this? In your second volume, still at the printers.
A ball is planned, a vampire's ball, and they're going to feast on a prize tonight. They're going to feast on these two also. He trapped them up there, but they find a way to escape. The ball goes on as planned, and our heroes knock out a couple of vamps. They take the costumes of those two and join in with the group. But their ruse is discovered when they dance in front of the mirror, and they're the only ones who cast a reflection. In order to escape, they make a makeshift cross out of a couple of swords to hold them at bay while they run. Although a chase ensues, they get away on a sleigh. The Count sends one of his minions after them by a coffin sled. But he doesn't quite intercept them. All appears well until Sarah opens her mouth. She's already been turned.
Professor Abrontius never guessed he was carrying away with him the very evil he had wished to destroy. Thanks to him, this evil would at last be able to spread across the world.
All right, let's talk about The Fearless Vampire Killers. This is a movie I originally had on a beta tape in my collection. Taped it probably back around 1987 or 88, something like that. It showed up on cable one night. I'd never heard of the film, but I caught a little bit of it one night, and I was like, you know, this is pretty good, and I decided to tape it. I also was just starting to get familiar with Sharon Tate and the Manson murders and that sort of thing at that time too. So it was a little double fascination because it does co-star Sharon Tate. It's a Roman Polanski directed movie. It was filmed in various places in Europe, Italy, and at this one castle somewhere too. He and this, he's a young guy, and he and his professor from some college somewhere are they're vampire hunters. They're going to look for a vampire, and they know that there's apparently one at this castle, and there is one. It's played by Ferdy Mayne. You might remember him as Konrad Radzov in Frightmare, 1982, I think. I reviewed that a long time ago. But anyway, so they come to this castle. It's taking place like in the 1800s, 1850s, something like that. And they meet some of the villagers, and they stay at this inn, and Roman Polanski's character becomes infatuated with Sarah, the young daughter of the caretaker there, and that happens to be Sharon Tate. That's where Polanski and Tate met, actually, during this filming. And at one point, she gets kidnapped by these vampires that are there, so he decides, well, we got to rescue her. So yes, it turns out there are vampires here, or maybe just one vampire, I don't know. So he and the professor, they go to the castle. They meet the head vampire, whose name is Ferdy Mayne's character. I can't remember his name, Kroku, something, I don't know, it starts with a K. They meet him, and he invites them to spend the night, and then they poke around a little bit, and they realize, okay, we got to find the coffins. We got to stab him through the heart. And there also is Dracula has a son too, or the vampire has a son, I should say, Herbert, who's a homosexual. But anyway, they find the crypt. They have to crawl through a window, and only Roman Polanski can fit. The doctor or the professor's a little too big, so he gets stuck. But Polanski takes the stake, but he isn't able to do it. He doesn't have the guts to actually do it, so he has to leave. He rescues the professor from the window, and he wants to go find Sarah too. On the way back to the professor, he finds Sarah in a bathtub and leers at her for a while. Then she disappears, and then a little later on, the vampire wakes up and confronts them on this turret, like this balcony type thing, and says, look down below, and there's a bunch of vampires coming out of coffins. So yeah, it's not just one vampire too, there's 100 of them. And they're having a ball that night to welcome Sarah, and they're going to basically feast on her and turn her as well. Well, he traps them up in the turret there, then leaves as the sun sets. The sun continues, the night continues, I should say. They escape from there by use of a cannonball, and they knock out a couple of vampires, steal their costumes. They fit in with the ball, but then they get spotted in the mirror because they cast a reflection and the vampires don't. They manage to escape from there, and they're heading back home out in the woods. And as they are going away in a sleigh, Sharon Tate, Sarah opens her mouth, and we see that she has fangs, and she bites Roman Polanski. And so they're taking the vampire curse back to their own country or wherever it is they're going. That's Fearless Vampire Kills. So anyway, that's it. I like this movie. I've only seen it a couple times in my life, but it's got a nice little vibe to it, a good mood. It's just mostly dark throughout the film. It's like this Twilight type, a dawn type feel. It's not a lot of colors in this movie. It's just a lot of nighttime scenes or dusk scenes like that. I just kind of like that vibe, especially with the winter and the snow and everything. If you look really closely, you can probably see a couple of nipples from Miss Tate as well. Yeah, and a little bit of blood here and there, not much, but a lot of slapstick thrown in as well. There's some comedy here as well. In fact, when they brought this to the America, the producers here decided to change the name to Fearless Vampire Killers, or Pardon Me, But Your Teeth Are in My Neck, which is right there on the cover. Now, Polanski hated that version, plus they cut like 17 minutes out of it, so he wanted his name off the credits, but it didn't work. Now, this one is the fully restored version. It's on DVD. I believe there's some Blu-rays floating around of this as well, but it might be a little more expensive. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's a decent film. So anyway, and again, after this movie, you know, they fell in love, they moved in together, and then, of course, we know what happened to Sharon Tate a couple years later from the Manson family. But anyway, that's another story. It's Fearless Vampire Killers. It's a pretty good film. Click that link down below on Amazon and buy it, and leave some comments and know what you think about it. It's Fearless Vampire Killers. Watch it. Bye.